I've been picking up a few hobbies lately. Woodworking, home improvement, although as I stumble my way through those things, I'm not sure home improvement is the word I would use to what's happened to our home. More like wood not working sometimes. I recently repurposed a bookshelf to be an entertainment center, and as my wife and partner so lovingly decided to call it our entertainment off center, I've bonded with her and learned a few things in the process. And as I've learned a few things about life as I did these things, and I remember vice gripping a piece of hardwood between my feet and using that toothy little drywall saw to try to saw it in half. And I realized there are some tasks that primitive tools just don't accomplish very well. And unfortunately, the tools I have to use tonight are not well suited for the task in front of me. All I have are the words in English to do what is sort of an Everest to me. So I simply pray for the grace and power and the very Spirit of God to fill this room and communicate things that are unspeakable. What I cannot do in the weakness of words, may He do with the power of His Spirit. After all, to answer the question, who is Gary Priour, Citizen of the Year? Thanks, Judy, for being our decoy. It's something only my Father in heaven can truly do. Believe me when I tell you, it's an honor of the deepest kind to have this chance and to try my hand at partnering with him in telling you about this man. I think what's hitting me right now is something that's a mix between destiny and fear and trembling. Speaking about my earthly father is something I have loved doing my entire life. And I have always dreamt of having this type of opportunity, so I thank you for the honor and privilege. Presenting him with this award indeed goes beyond words. But since we are using a few words, I need to make a few ground rules straight. Okay, first of all, I have the mic. So correcting me on grammar is something you have to do after the speech. So if I ain't talking too nice after I've went through a few things, then you can correct me. Me and you can have a talk, okay? Secondly, please forgive me if I've forgotten stories. There are many, many stories that we all remember fondly, I know, as we think about this man. In preparation for this, I asked my mother, what was Gary's life like before you? And she said, what life before me? So, there's that. Many of us have watched Gary Priour help start projects in this community, serve on committees for the betterment of this society. Pardon me, I'm a little flustered. Pray and speak at the foundations and completions of buildings. Speak as we join loved ones together in marriage and send loved ones off in funerals. He has selflessly contributed his time and resources to show love and support for people everywhere in this community. There are so many fond memories, and maybe others could do better jobs like Daleen or Michael or Jay. Maybe you have stories that shouldn't be told up here. But I've decided to speak on what I know best. Gary Priour, raw and unfiltered, the man behind the oak tree. Before you go anywhere, not that unfiltered, trust me, I got you back. Okay? I am so grateful for the life I've had in discovering my own callings, but also finding out the weight of what it is like to be a son of Gary. I remember walking through my high school hallway and seeing his picture on the wall and his name engraved in the metal there, and finding out that he was one of the men who started this building that my friends and I now were educated in. I remember meeting adults, walking into stores, and the minute they heard my last name and they recognized who I was, their eyes began to water. And the grip in their handshake matched the grip on their heart. They had experienced his helping hands somehow. All they would say to me was, "Your father is a good man." Doors were opened for me that he helped frame. I never knew growing up just how many people were affected to the core by my father. And maybe I never will. But discovering a new one all the time is always deeply humbling. No matter how you knew him, you knew this. He always wanted to know, how can I help you? Perhaps one of the greatest contributions to this society has been the Hill Country Youth Ranch, almost 40 years now, in its place. But I knew him as Dad. He called me partner, wrestled with me on the ground, and tickled me until I cried. He supported my unique callings, and like you said, Jay, he was the type of father who didn't put any pressure on any of us to do anything other than what the Lord had called us to do. He sat with me and he cried with me when I felt the bitter slap of an angry world, and encouraged me to get back up and love anyway. He taught me, he trained me, and he listened to God every step of the way. And in many ways, I never saw how much he sacrificially gave growing up. I guess you can take those things for granted in the blinding messiness of growing up around other people. But having gone off and fallen on my own face, stumbling on my pride of youth assumptions, thank God those are over, right? And then being received with grace again and again by my Father and with wisdom, and now coming to work at this youth ranch and catching a glimpse of what it takes to keep the fire of this mission burning as the world tries with all their icy water to put it out. I am overwhelmed as I look back and begin to wake up to all he did for us. See, I watched the tears cover his face for his family at the Hill Country Youth Ranch. I heard his pacing at night. I felt his heartfelt, gut-wrenching prayers after hard phone conversations calling in at the next emergency on the table with our children. I knew I had over 1,000 brothers and sisters. I knew he'd fight for them, and I knew he'd fight for us. And he did. He went into the middle of the crossfire to rescue his children time and time again, and focused intently on our well-being while seeming to forget the bullets that were hitting him on every side. One of the times he let me into his vulnerable thoughts, I asked him, "What is your life about, man?" He answered something like this. "You know, sometimes it feels as if I'm in the center of a crossroads of 4 freight trains all running towards me at the same time. And I'm having to find out in a moment's time how to defuse all of them." And I saw a few times when the trains seemed to be running at a pace that was angry towards him. I saw them speed up, and I saw him face the agonies of fighting a war, of being persecuted when you take up a sword for the kingdom of goodness. And I saw those struggles become real. I saw him surrounded by vicious lions of false accusations, hatred, and cruel twists of fate. And I watched as my hero, who I considered to be unbreakable, I watched him be broken. And yet, he held on, and not without reinforcements. Because I also watched as angels, in the form of community leaders, stop the mouths of those lions as he was in that cage, and rally around him And during one of the hardest times at the youth ranch, I remember staying up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when my father sat with me and he programmed the lights for a play that I was interested in. And he still was a father to me when he had everything coming against him just because he cared. I saw him come to opening night after opening night and be a father to me and be a father to over 1,000. I remember hearing what life was like on Virginia Drive when I was just a little boy, and Mom would tell me when you were first building the ranch that when you would go, I would play Daddy Going to Work. And when I reenacted it, I would pretend to take my little suitcase and my diaper. I know you had better work clothes than that. If you didn't, then it's okay. Ignorance is bliss. And I would always come back to give little Jonah, played by Mom, one more kiss. And you always gave us one more kiss, one more chance. When we felt like squid heads, Dad. When we felt like the most unlovely people in the world, you loved us. My Father, it is with a heart overflowing with joy, and good pleasure, and the pride of a son. And I face you with gratitude. And I know I'm joined by a symphony of thousands when I say to you, thank you, Papa Gary. You loved us and gave your life for us. We were the misfits, the rejects. They lined us up on the wall, and we were the ones not chosen until you came. You treated us as you would yourself. You made us feel accepted when we felt unacceptable, special when we felt useless, and that life is worth living when we felt like the worthless crumbs swept off the table. When others passed us on the road, you're the one who stopped. When we were the last to be picked on the team, you chose us for yours. When all the other ducklings mocked us as the ugly one, you said, I want that one. He's a swan. Just wait. You took the hard cases. We all need someone to believe in us, Dad. Someone who will say, you know, despite all this mischief and mayhem, I see purpose in you. You saw the treasure hidden in a field full of messes. You showed us, all of us, what love is. And for that, we can never thank you enough. And at last, I speak with boldness, something I know are not my own words, and I would not speak them now if I did not have complete confidence that you will hear them from the one whose words formed the world when the final day arrived at last. I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. You ran the race. You fought the good fight. As I loved you, so you have loved the one another's around you. Some of your greatest years could be yet ahead of you, full of delight and mysteries I have so longed to show you. For now, be assured in this. What you did to the very least of these, you have done to the very Son of God. Well done, thou good and faithful servant.